start with some numbers, with some figures on the investments needed to reach the energy and climate goals by 2030, because they were mentioned. So there is a lot of work to do. And if you look at the table, you see basically the demand and supply side and the different sectors. And in the first column, you have the business as usual projected spending at 2016 per sector. In the second one, you have the investment needed. So the investment needed to reach the energy and climate objectives by 2030. So the third column is nothing than the gap, so the financing challenge. And in my presentation, I would like to focus on buildings, because as you can see, it's the area, it's the sector that needs the most investments. So it's 87 billion euros plus in buildings, private buildings, and 45 in the tertiary sector. So energy refurbishment of buildings is a priority, very clearly, and buildings are an important part of the urban planning, which is the other aspect that SIMPLA addressed during the project. And buildings represent 40% of energy consumption and 36% of greenhouse gas emissions in the EU. The renovation rate per year is still lagging behind, so it's between 0.4 and 1.2. So a lot of work is needed and a lot of investments are needed. So in particular in the private sector, 87 billion additional compared to projected spending volumes. But how? I mean, how can we go in that direction? I mean, I would like to show you some opportunities from the Horizon 2020 program, which is the funding program for research and development of the European Commission. And those opportunities are available to work in that direction and in particular in increasing investments in the energy efficiency field. So first one is the so-called Project Development Assistance, or PDA. You will see in my slides that there is a title, and then below there is the numbering of the topic. So in the work program jargon, this is the EE, which means energy efficiency 11, so topic number 11. For 2018-2020. So PDA is really about building the expertise needed for developing a project and triggering investments. We usually say that PDA finance brains and not bricks. So with PDA projects, we fund projects that try to build the technical, economic and legal expertise needed for project development, that try to remove the legal, administrative and market barriers, and to aggregate projects, so pooling or bundling of projects, and to mobilize private finance. With this type of project, you can target all the main sectors of urban planning, so buildings, but also other sectors. And you will receive funding for building this expertise, and the condition is that you will be able to launch the investment before the end of the action with a leverage ratio of 1 to 15, which means that for each euro of European funding received, you should trigger 15 euros of investments. So there is some budget available for 2019, 6 million euros. We can accept proposal from one single entity, and the EU contribution will be 100%. Deadline is the 3rd of September next year, so there is plenty of time to prepare proposals, and there is really plenty of opportunities to work in that field, which is really interesting. For bigger projects, there is another form of project development assistance, which is offered by the European Investment Bank. It's called Elena. It's very much similar to the activities that I presented you, but it's focused on bigger project, and the leverage ratio is a bit higher, so 120. The difference here is that it's directly managed by the European Investment Bank, so you just drop them an email. You have over there the email address. You contact them, you propose to them an action that you want to work on, and then you enter in contact, and then you start a negotiation, and if successful, you will receive funding for technical assistance for developing investments projects. If you think you're not still ready for this kind of activities, and you need a sort of pre-assistance, there is something really interesting in the pipeline, and it's called European City Facility. So for the moment, we will we will receive proposals by the 5th of February, but we will receive proposal for a secretariat that will manage all the facility. What I think it's more interesting for you is that once the facility is running, it will make available lump sums to work on investment concepts. So cities can apply and can receive lump sums for working on the development of investment concepts, which are a sort of let's say first step before an investment program. So with the investment concept, you can you should be able to identify the potential project pipeline, the investment scale, to understand what could be your financing strategy, and you will develop this concept with experts and with a lump sum of 60,000 euros max. And after that, you will be ready to explore different opportunities for financing your investments, for instance, through participating to an European funding program, or using structural funds, or using other type of European funds for strategic investments, and so on. Another topic of the call for proposal is the innovative financing for energy efficiency investments. It's called EE9, and here we want to receive proposals that set up innovative and operational financing schemes. They can be, for instance, dedicated credit lines, guarantee facilities, on-bill or on-tax financing, and the idea is that the proposals can set up new innovative financing schemes or also replicate previously successful solutions. If you want to focus on building renovation, there is another topic which is called EE2, or Integrated Home Renovation Services. The idea here is to focus on the so-called one-stop shops, which are basically a single entry point for home renovation services, and which should aim to cover the whole customer journey, from the, for instance, audit of an energy audit of a private house, to proposal of works, to planning of the works, designing, to understanding what are the financing opportunities available, finance the works, monitor the energy efficiency achieved. And another opportunity is the so-called EE16, so a topic which supports public authorities to implement the energy union. The topic is very much focused on an aspect which was mentioned in the presentation of the previous speaker, so the lack of capacity, and it's very much focused on capacity building and training for local authorities in order to improve their monitoring and verification of energy efficiency savings, for the development of transition roadmaps to reach 2030 and 2050 energy and climate targets, innovative ways to enable public engagement in the energy transition. That was another aspect mentioned as a barrier to development of a plan. And development of peer-to-peer learning programs, so capacity building programs for cities and regions, and also assistance to member states to implement the Energy Efficiency Directive. And talking about capacity building, if you're an energy agency, you should look to the Managed Energy Initiative, which is offering master classes about energy efficiency financing in Brussels. We already organized 3 of those master classes, and the participants were very much excited about the level of the training. And it's also interesting to say that the expenses for selected participants are covered. So application is open to the next edition of the masterclass, which will be beginning of next year. So go to manageenergy.eu if you want more details, in particular if you are an energy agency and if you want to participate to this interesting capacity building program. While if you would like to know who are the right people to talk to, and you want to meet the relevant stakeholders on national level in the field of energy efficiency, then you should participate to one of the events organized in the framework of the Sustainable Energy Investment Forums, which are a series of capacity building and networking events in 15 member states, with the objectives to really create the conditions for trigger large-scale investment programs and financing schemes. And I think the next one could be particularly interesting for some of you, because it will be the 5th of December in Frankfurt, and it will cover financing energy efficiency in Germany, France, and Austria. Again, if you Google Sustainable Energy Investment Forums, you will have all the information about the upcoming events, but also the previous ones. Another appointment, well, you are very much invited to attend in person or online the Horizon 2020 Energy Efficiency Info Day, 22nd of January next year in Brussels. We will present all the funding opportunities for the 2019 call, so in much more detail than I did today. You will receive guidance on how to prepare a good proposal for Horizon 2020, and you will of course have the opportunity to network and to do some matchmaking with potential partners. Registrations are already open, and they will close 18th of January 2019, so really go on the website and apply for this event. Well, it's pretty much all. I will leave my presentation to Fabio, so he can share with you also all the information, all the links, and thank you for your attention.